Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What is up, wrestling fans and trading card collectors? Worlds Collide back again. Here we are. Tony, welcome. We got a doozy of a show today. The ever-changing landscape of markets and popularity. And, you know, back in the day, I say back in the day, it seems like it was like last year, wrestling cards were already, like, can you believe it, 1 year, how big of a difference wrestling cards, like where we are now compared to where we were a year ago? It's like the popularity, there's more popularity, which I, harped on forever. I was like, hey, let's get more people into wrestling cards. We're slowly starting to see it. But at the same time, we're starting to see markets fall off of stuff that was, thought to be grail cards. Popularity of newer, more modern sets, and a whole, separate sector of people coming in and wanting to go that route, and just kind of the argumentativeness, and with markets down and people are trying to sell but they want top dollar, and that we just got a lot to talk about today. So probably going to get some people's feelings hurt.
No intent purposes there. I mean, I'm definitely not going to intentionally go after anybody specifically and call anybody out for however they do, because everybody collects and sells. We all do it, have different approaches to it. So
sure.
There's no real 100% right way to do things. Like, there are definitely some wrong ways of doing it, but there's no 100% right way to do everything. I mean, whatever works for you works for you. But yeah, this hobby has really changed dramatically. I mean, even from last year, like you said, last year, hell, I go back even year before that. We go into 2021 going like, wow, what's going on, man? 2020, what a year in the hobby and collections like that. And again, 2021 is like, hell, my beer. and then we have all these changes going on, and new licensing agreements and fanatics into the field and all these different things going on. And it's like, oh my God, I mean, whew, what a year that was. And then 2022 goes, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yep. And like we've said this several times, some of us predicted this would be the biggest year for wrestling cards, but even I had no idea so much of this stuff was going to be, there were certain things I was like, yep, that's going to change. This is going to be more expensive, yada, yada, yada. But then we're starting to see, like, again, with the Fanatics thing, who could have called that? We're starting to see kind of division within certain sectors of people don't want certain cards anymore and they want these newer things. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of new. I would never expect that. So let's just kick it off with some general observations of different things we've seen, like market-wise, kind of changing in the hobby. I'll kick it off with a prime example. It's like these weird things that I just can't put my finger on. Not too long ago, we had the PSA 9 John Cena 2002 Royal Rumble Fleer sell for just shy of $2,000. Brett McGrath, shout out Stacking Slabs podcast, great podcast. You guys should go check it out.
100%.
Passionate collector and really into wrestling cards. Anyhow.
The Jesus of our hobby.
Yeah, he's been called. Yeah. So he sold his, and it was, again, just shy of 2,000. I put mine up not too long ago. It actually ended last week, and I think it sold for like $1,200. It was like a huge discrepancy for the same grade. And I was just thinking, what has happened with John Cena in the past month that made his price go down, specifically like $800 or so. And I've seen this with other things too. I mean, Tony, I've talked to you offline. Like, I got some rock gold stuff back. It wasn't chrome, but it was still gold out of 50, just like the chromes. I actually just recently sold it. I had to take money off the table because, we've talked about not squeezing every dollar out of something and just taking what you have your margins in.
Yep.
But, we see a raw copy of two different rock cards sell for a total of $10,000. But yet I have these ones that I post that are PSA graded, not raw, and they got a 9, which is acceptable. I have those for a fraction, like a tenth of the cost of that, and just nobody interested. And that was something I wanted to talk about tonight on that specific thing, is like just trying to figure out what exactly is going on with some of these, like it's almost like these really high end cards sell, and then the exact same things that are below it don't sell. Like sometimes they don't sell at all, but sometimes they sell for way less. What do you think on that?
I don't know. I mean, even on the selling the exact same item, sometimes
Yeah,
like you just don't hit it. I understand when we're on, if you're doing something on eBay, it's basically on any given day, kind of thing, like who's watching at that time kind of thing. So I get that. Because you're not a big auction guy. You do a lot of set pricing.
yeah,
You're a buy it
except
now kind of guy.
right, but my Cena was an auction because
I
I was
know,
like,
but
yeah,
what I'm getting at is that, so recently you started doing like these and making announcements like, hey, I'm doing these weekly auctions now, introducing something new every week, and you're testing that market out, so like that. And you're finding that doing that route, it's just whoever's on at any given time. So I don't get it. I mean, I get that aspect of it. I get the aspect because, I mean, as someone who's been on eBay since 97, 98, I get that at any given time theory.
hmm
But I also think when we have these big high number ones going on, there's all kinds of potential possibilities. There's either egos get involved. You're happy enough to get two people who are in a bidding war on your product.
sure,
So that's
makes
what you're
sense.
kind of hoping. That's what's always you're hoping for. You're hoping that egos get involved. Like, how dare you outbid me? You know, um, that's what you want as a seller.
Yeah,
So there's either that it's happening, or we have. I hate saying it, man, but either then you've got a certain crowd of people who are just pumping their stuff up. Maybe I don't know.
could be.
I'm not, and again, not accusing anybody. It's like that, but it's well documented in our hobby across everything in collectibles of this kind of shenanigans taking place. Whether it be from big, companies, grading companies, auction houses, website. There's all kinds of that stuff going on, and has for years. There's nothing new. So is that possible? Hell yeah, it's possible. I'm not accusing or calling evidence to anybody. It's like that. Just saying that it is possible. So that makes me feel like, am I not part of that unique clique that I can't sell my Hogan 82s for, $30,000? I don't know. Maybe I'm not part of the wrestling card Illuminati. I don't know.
Ooh, I want to know who's in that.
Yeah, I want to know who's in that too. I
You
mean,
think
just
it
because
has?
I don't want membership. I just want to know.
Do you think it has anything to do with like economics too, like just the
Of
world
course it
situation?
does.
Like,
But what's, I mean, you're talking about a time frame that's like what? I mean, a month,
yeah,
a month. And like, has the market, for a particular superstar in our hobby changed that much? Especially about someone like you're using John Cena as an example. What the hell has he done that month that's deteriorated his price value?
right.
Nothing.
Yeah, and I want to be
Nothing.
transparent. I'm not complaining. I'm more in observing. Like
No, because I mean, you and I talked, like I said, off air. We talked before. I mean, we talk almost daily, and it's just, you knew what you were into that card for, so you still made a good margin on that.
yep.
But is it, you had a good sale that could have been a great sale had
hmm
it been like somebody else's listing, apparently.
Right. Yeah,
I
I'm
want to
not
know
sure.
that. I want to know where this number to 10, rock card that sells for thousands of dollars, to this one seller is not getting me the same amount of price, same amount. I don't know why that is.
And I understand with the rock specifically, like, believe it or not, there is a huge discrepancy between Chrome and Finest, even though
Of
it's
course,
similar. Like, it's that brand name. It's just like
it is.
Prism. When we see Prism come out, I think that's going to be a bigger deal than Topps Chrome,
It is.
personally.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors, but it's just an interesting observation. Is there anything specifically that you've seen, whether it's like the sale or anything specific on a specific card or set that you've seen recently?
Well, for me personally, as people know, I sent in to Heritage Auctions to have my 82 Cosmos Hogan and Flair.
Right.
And I had a reserve on the Hogan. I did not have one on the Flair. And I had estimated that I was going to probably sell that Flair for somewhere in that $3,000 range, because I had checked and saw a similar card sell for around that price, like that high 2,000, some of the low 3,000, maybe around 30, a little over 3,000, maybe, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so I kind of said, hey, I should get mine for the same amount. I think that might have been like a 7, a PSA 7, and mine was an 8. So I thought, okay, I have a good shot at maybe, hitting a 3,000. No, the ending price ended up being $1,150 for it.
So less than half.
Yeah. So it was a huge, huge hit. And my Hogan, which although did not hit my reserve, I did not know that after the initial, 30-day auction, from the auction house, it has a 2-week window where people can actually submit and send me offers. So I had a $15,000 reserve on that card, and this is the first time I ever mentioned it publicly, actually. So I had a $15,000 reserve on that card. It did not hit that number. Within 48 hours, I was contacted by someone from Heritage saying that there was an offer, and explained the whole process to me about these offers that come in for that 14-day window afterwards. And I said, here's the offer, and including the buyer's premium, it would be this amount, it's like that. So I ended up hitting my reserve price with the offer. So it's someone who came in late and picked it up, and that ended up being with the I think with the buyer's premium, it ended up putting above my reserve price like that. So I'm getting less than my reserve price, but it was a number that I was still happy with, because I still had a bottom line number, but I had a reserve of like, this is kind of what I'd like to get it at from the public standpoint, but from a private standpoint, I would take this. And I'm happy with the sale, but I'm disappointed in the sense that that same card, which only one other person has other cards in the same grade, will probably end up going for double what I'm going to get for it.
Right.
And I don't understand why that is.
So the next thing I wanted to mention is that I've started seeing that we've also talked offline about, and I've actually talked with some other people who are doing the same thing, is that we're starting to kind of see this weird, like, follow the herd mentality. I don't want to say FOMO, because it's not like it's not like they're, throwing these crazy prices higher and higher and higher to get something. It's like there's certain segments of wrestling collectors that seem like they were all in on a certain set or a certain collection or a player or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like, a week later that we see them on social media working so hard, doing what me and you say, putting the work in to try to get that set or that card or whatever it is, and the next thing I know, me and you, like, we'll see them selling it for a loss to move into something else, because they're just trying to move it. And I'm trying, like, for the longest time it was 82 83 all-stars, and then it was the all-in set. Now it's gold refractors, and then then it was like indie stuff, and then maybe it's upper deck AEW. Like, it's just kind of all over the place. And I understand, like, you can have different interests and jump around and stuff like that, but like, it's hard for me to see people work so hard to get something when they're publicly doing it, and then just like throw that to the wayside. It's not even like they're making a huge amount of money on that and then putting it into something else, because a lot of times, like, we'll see them, they're flipping out about AEW blaster boxes, and the next thing you see, they're selling the contents of what they just ripped for like $10.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I see it too, but everybody had their collecting habits are all different, so I don't know what they're into. I don't know what their end goal is, what their end game is. Maybe they're just moving on to the best thing, but even talking about, I consider that like the flavor of the month almost kind of thing. There's always seems to be a lot more of the flavor of the month in the wrestling community now. It never used to be that way, really. Of course, we didn't have as many releases.
That's true.
So I mean, before Topps really started cranking things out in 05, 06, 07, and really kind of making things, 7 sets, 8 sets, 10 sets a year kind of thing coming out. It was always like 2, 3 sets a year. That was it.
Sure.
So you had time to absorb stuff and go out and chase and have fun, looking for that kind of stuff. Now it's like everybody, maybe there is a little bit of FOMO in that respect. They want to be on that bandwagon and go to the next things like that. That bandwagon mentality, by the way, also applies to even individual stuff that people want to put out there and do that work and put it out there and make it a popular thing. It's like that. Good case in point, man, is that 97 Rock Panini sticker.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the flavor of the month, man. And, and God bless the Rob Englands out there who made a good killing off that. But after that, nobody talks about that anymore.
It sucks because I still think it's cool. Like, I still have a couple and I think they're great, and I'm going to hang on to them until I decide, hey, I just don't need this anymore. But that's the really interesting thing that I wish people, like, if you're listening to this and you collect wrestling cards, plant your flag, like, do what it is you want to do. If it's set collecting, if it's trying to get set registries with PSA or SGC or whoever else is out there doing them, or whether it's just flipping, like whatever it is you do, just do it. Do what's making you happy. Do what's working for you. Don't, I like AEW exploded. Guess what? I have zero interest in. Now I'll buy all the AEW stuff to resell it. People want to get rid of their commons or whatever. I'll take all that. But as far as like me collecting, I have zero interest in AEW because I love watching the product, but for some reason I just have zero attachment to it from a cardboard perspective. And then WWE, like I watch it a little bit more and I like certain guys a little bit more. So I'll dabble again. But like I enjoy going back and finding like weird stuff from the 90s that nobody's really looking at because I think it's cool, not because I think it's going to like 10x overnight, or not because I saw someone else post it and I'm like, oh, I got to be like them. Like pave your own trail,
Exactly. And that's why we all collect differently. Like I said, I've lost that love of going after things mainly because it's not an achievable goal for me like it used to be in the early 2000s. But and I've adjusted to that. It didn't keep me out of the hobby. I was always kept in my ear to the ground and checking out what was hot and what was coming out. But my interest in the hobby itself has changed. So I'm not even a physical product collector anymore. Yeah, outside of my Kurt Angle or a Loomis type of thing. But I have other fun little projects that I'm doing within the hobby itself too. But I'm not jumping on any bandwagons to go like, well, I'm missing out on this, or like I'm a fan of that. I gotta have that. I just I want more of the information. I'm an information guy now more than anything else. I want that information for the website and to make it the best possible place to go to for that information. But yeah, it's weird. It's happening more now more than ever, where we've seen people kind of like, like you said, all in. Like I gotta have that. I gotta have that now. And then all of a sudden that faded away, and now it became like limitless. And that kind of will go away. Next thing it's GCW, or it's the new Prism, or it's this or it's that. I mean, like you said, just pick plant your flag, man, and go out there and have fun and do something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, and we've said it both before. Like it's okay to change your mind on things, but it's 100%. Just it's kind of weird to see someone change their mind a month after something came out.
It's a great point. Like I would love to know what like Jamie's doing right now. It's like that guy spent a heck of a time going after all those WCW autograph cards, and not that he's not doing what you're saying, where they're dumping it for a loss like that. He's actually selling it for big money. But like he spent this incredible journey going after all those cards, and now it seems like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's piecing it out now, piecing out for other things.
I've seen some of it for sale, but I assumed they were doubles or he had a higher grade or something like that. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I can tell you don't go out and sell a hardcore hack because you got doubles.
That's true.
You don't go out and sell your Rey Mysterio because you got doubles.
Also a valid point.
So there's, cool. I mean, it's a cool journey. I still love to have them on as a guest with Wes and those guys and talk about all their individual journeys about doing that set. But it's just weird to me when you see someone go like that and like spend such a lot of time, a lot of work, and a lot of money to go out and collect something, get all the praise and kudos for it, which was great because you earned it, and then turn around and flip it or try to sell pieces of it to do something else, which is cool, which is great. I'm not criticizing at all. It's just I see that a lot with people on social media who they're into one thing and then all of a sudden the next month they're into something else. So
and I don't know why because it could be because again, maybe going back to the FOMO thing, which plays into social media. I like it. I like seeing all these things. I like seeing all the shiny stuff. I like seeing the all-stars. I like seeing food issue products. I like seeing people do super collections of random wrestlers that you never thought anybody even cared about. That's like, maybe they're not even, I don't know, like maybe it's somebody that was a blip on the radar in WWE that had certain cards, but somebody's got a full rainbow. Like that's just, I love seeing that from social media. But I think there are people that get on social media and they're like, oh, that's cool. But they can't just end with, oh, that's cool. It's, oh, that's cool. I got to buy it.
Yep.
Instead of like, you said it yourself, you're collecting information. That's the same concept as how I'm going about. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I didn't know this existed here. Like, that doesn't mean I have to go out and actually chase it though. And I think that's one thing I've been able to stay really disciplined on, fortunately.
I see people out there posting their stuff too. And I'm more, I tend to DM them or message them going, hey, that's so cool. Can I get a scanned image of that from the front and backs like that? And
Like what? You don't want to buy it from me? No, just
no,
the
I don't
image.
want. I just want the image, man. I think it's so cool. Congratulations on getting that 1-of-1, or whatever. I think that's awesome. But
Yeah.
now I know where it's at. I like to be able to have an image of it so I can post on the checklist so people can know what it looks like.
Right. Yeah, and another thing that I think that's been interesting is how this mentality we're talking about has affected pricing. Like, at one point, I don't think you probably could have gotten raw Hogan 85 cards for like less than $100. Now I'm seeing them out there for 20 or $30.
Yep.
But we talk constantly about how the market's going to go up and down, but it seems like with wrestling cards, especially these big iconic cards or sets, it sets a new floor. And we're starting to see some of these cards, the floor going down, which is interesting.
Which is strange because this is now the first time that I've talked to anybody recently and discussing a floor level actually going down.
Yeah, and there has been definitely, like, I've seen it, and I don't know what exactly is the factors in it.
Do you think everybody else was just selling, and dumping and hoping for this Panini product? Are they selling because now they're getting into something else? Like, I'm going to get rid of my 85 Hogans because I want to get into, Limitless. I don't know.
I'm wondering if people are over leveraged in cards, period.
Possibly.
And just life circumstances, they need to get out of it. Or again, Prism's coming out. Maybe they just think they've got to have that, so they're just trying to get rid of old stuff. I don't know.
Or life happens, maybe I got to sell my stuff and liquidate it all because I have an upcoming surgery. I don't know what the problem with the person's.
And again, that's a totally different thing. That there's also nothing wrong with that, but it's just interesting. And let's kind of transition from that into the next thing. Oh boy, buying, selling, and trading on social media.
Wow. Oh my.
Yeah, I do.
I don't have as much experience of this as you do as of late because so I kind of live through you in that sense because you constantly let me know what's going on with stuff like that. And I've had some experience in that, but wow, like I don't want to get involved anymore. It seems like it's just go for it, man. Go ahead.
There's a lot to start with. Well, first off, I'm happy to take all the collections that people are liquidating, cards you don't want, cards you're not interested anymore. I will happily buy everything because I run a full-time eBay store, and I'm we've talked before about not trying to squeeze a lot of the dollars out of it. I buy cards in bulk or in lots. I shoot them a price based on what I think, based on what I know I can make margins on. I resell them in the eBay store. That's how business works. But there are a lot of people out there who think they've got a lot of, they think whatever they're going to sell you the card for, they want that comp. And I'll say, okay, well, if you want the comp, go list it on eBay yourself. Put in the hours, the listing, the pictures. I'm getting this at a cheaper rate because I'm willing to put in the hours of work that takes to do this.
But you're also buying in bulk too, and there's something to be said for when you're buying in bulk. So there is a bulk pricing type of stuff I used to do this all the time when I had a booth at Frankenstein's back in the day. People would bring me their 5,000 count boxes. It was ridiculous too. The funny story on that is I sold someone a Raw versus SmackDown, which is like a die cut relic card of an Edge card. Okay, beautiful card because it had the TM trademark logo of the T-shirt right in the middle of the actual fabric. I thought it was so cool, man, and I sold it. Not even 6 months later, I got it back in a large collection that I bought. The same exact piece from the same person, by the way. I turned around and sold to someone else. A year later, I got it back because that. From a whole different seller because that person I sold to the second time, a different person, he sold to somebody else who told somebody else, and it came back to me again. It's just, but every time it comes back to me, it was always like I'm buying in bulk, so I expect to have a bulk price like that. Like, well, it has this trademark logo. I said, dude, I'm the one who put that trademark logo one out in the market. I pulled it from a box. So it's just. People don't understand the economics and when it comes to selling and reselling.
Right.
And as you've always said, and a lot of your own shows too, is you got to put in the man hours. If you're willing to put the man hours in and work on your margins like that, you're going to make money in this business. Whether now, because it's like, well, I'm only making 25 cents, man. You're selling like after the fees, and they're like, yeah, but I have 1,000 items that I'm going to make a 25-cent margin on, so like a
Right.
25-cent profit on. I don't know about you, but do the math.
Right.
That's still good money.
And the thing for me is like, for some, I probably like mentally ill, but I love the process. It's hours and hours and hours of work, but like I love getting these boxes and get like it has the same, I guess, dopamine hit for some people who like to rip blasters is how I'm going
100%.
through those boxes. Like, this is
I love
amazing.
it. I love it too. I bought that collection last year out in California when I went and drove out there, and it had I paid ridiculously. The guy's like, yeah, I'm just gonna dump the whole box. I went through it. There's a Griffey rookie card in there. So it's not in the greatest condition, but it's a Griffey rookie card.
Still, yeah.
It had 5 of the 8, Imagine wrestling autograph cards in it. So I had Bruno Sammartino, it had Luthez, it had all these great names. So I paid like a fraction. I mean, it was, yeah, but because I'm the one taking the gamble.
Yeah, it's not because you're trying to rip anyone off. I think that's what people don't understand is it's not like we're blatantly trying to rip people off. It's that, hey, there's, again, man hours, time. There, a lot of the bulk stuff you end up buying, especially if it's base cards, low end inserts, maybe it's even autographs of talent that's like, it's a $5 autograph. Like,
sure,
they don't understand that you may have to sit on that for like a year, even sometimes to move that stuff. So,
or you may end up putting them in another bulk box and sell to somebody else for a wholesale, even at a loss, just so that dead inventory is always going to be dead inventory, as opposed to taking that dead inventory, selling it at a loss, and reinvesting in something that becomes a positive inventory.
Right, and I don't think people understand that.
No. So I've got some sellers out in California I used to deal with all the time that had a 2,300 square foot warehouse of non-sport stuff. I just sat on these boxes for a year, and probably still sitting on them for years and years. And I was like, well, I paid 36 and change, direct from the manufacturer back then. I can't sell these things. They're selling for $15 a box. I'm like, well, that's the market. The market's 10 to 12, $15 a box. Take the loss, sell the 30 boxes that you have at $15 a piece. Go buy your next Buffy the Vampire Slayer case that you're going to make money on.
Right. And I do want to say, we kind of went on a tangent talking about bulk and stuff, but there are good people out there that know what they're doing and know how to negotiate and understand that, hey, I don't want to put the work in to sell these, 300-400 cards, or maybe it's even just 10 cards. Like, even if you're buying in a lot, you've got to expect that whoever you're selling it to is generally, if they're I don't know that I want to call myself a dealer, but like quasi dealer maybe, like you're going to have to get that at a certain price because they're going to resell the product by putting in the work, as we've said. But there are some people out there, 2 people I want to specifically shout out: Bryce Naramore and Travis Fowler. Both of these guys are in the Card Foundation Patreon group, and they're on Instagram as well. And I've done numerous buys, sells, and trades, combinations of all of that with both of these guys, and it's been top notch. So they are out there. Collecting with Caleb, another good one I've done a lot of trades with. Uncle Danny's hooking me up with those all-star autographs, giving me really good prices on stuff. So don't let what we're saying just flat out discourage you. But I think this is mainly us coming from people who are selling more, or people that are bringing us card, because we're starting to get that too. We've talked about that. People are starting
we were talking about at the beginning of this episode before we start recording. I was showing you pictures, like someone wants me to see if I can move something for them, wants to sell me something,
right?
And it's a one item. Like, if I was back in the game of doing what you do, because I used to do it very heavily for a long time, I'm not buying to collect in that case. I'm buying to sell, and that's a different mindset completely.
Yes, completely. Like, you want to give me Karrion Kross or like Hogan gold prisms or something? Yeah, I'm interested. In fact, one of the recent trades I did with someone on Instagram, I can, it'll be posted by now, but I finally got one of those 1998 Rock autograph cards. Took me forever, a lot of hard work to get it, but finally got one. Absolutely happy with it. I did a cash and trade with a guy that I didn't even know on Instagram. It can happen, but he was willing to move on his price. I was willing to pay, more than I initially. It's all negotiation, and we were, he's like, hey, I just need some stuff to resell plus some cash. And I was like, hey, I would like this for at least PC for now and probably for the foreseeable future. It's all about negotiation. And if you're coming to people, whether it's us, whether it's other people on Instagram, Twitter, and we can talk, one other thing I want to talk about in just a minute is, if you're going to put a price out there, be willing to negotiate and understand who's buying it. Because if someone is buying it as a dealer, seller, store owner, you've got to understand that, they'll take it off your hands, but you're also going to have to give it at a discount. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. go out and put it on eBay yourself. Do the work yourself. Most people aren't willing to do that. That transitions into the sale threads that we see on Twitter. I have not had very good luck with this. How has how's your experience been?
I say 0 up until this evening, I think. So I actually did sell something for the first time on, well, not the first time. I'm sitting here throwing 0 like I'm a bagel over here. I actually have, now I'm thinking about it. I've had a couple sell, but I would say 98% of the time, nothing.
Yeah, and what do you think that is? I mean, there's been times where I have approached people and it's just what we said, like they're not willing to budge on their price. But then there's kind of going, going full circle on this episode and going back to the first, like all of a sudden everybody wants these, pick a set, 2014 Chrome, all in, whatever it is. People seem to want these. You put it out there at the going rate, if not a little bit below.
Yeah.
And people either don't want it at all, you get no response, or they want it for $10.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
We've had these conversations before through text a lot. It's like that. It's like, I'm offering it out there just below what the current comps are. It's like that. Like, oh, I'm not going to pay that. I mean, I didn't know you're going to be that price. Like, well, what did you think I was going to give it to you for? Like,
yeah. And again, if they were, maybe they were upfront with me and they were like, hey, I'm a dealer, I own a card shop, I would be interested in this, but I would prefer buying in bulk if you have some other stuff to offer. Like,
sure.
Again, it's a negotiation thing. And I just don't think people understand. I don't know.
I don't understand either. So
Kind
it's
of
a crazy world.
Kind of random topics that we had covered tonight. Is there anything else that you can think of that is coming to mind about kind of the weird landscape of markets and popularity of some of these cards that, they were top of the world and now they're like opening card jobbers and some of them are in the middle, and I
just think we're going to see more. I think we're going to see more. It's, we talked about the Fanatics deal, so that happened with Panini now, and also we're just going to see more of it. We're going to, the next AEW release comes out, we're just going to see more of this wide range of mentality, this wide range of buying and selling and flexing and what's popular, what's not popular. It's just an evolving market anyways. It wasn't as prevalent in wrestling cards as it was in other things. And now our market, because of what we've always wanted, we've wanted more eyeballs on our product, and we've got that, and we're getting more by the day. So I expect more of this behavior to keep going, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I go back, I've said this numerous times. Like, I feel like a lot of the people in the sports card world sometimes can get like how much content out there do you see about people trying to make deals over the top of a showcase?
Lots.
Sitting there for 30 minutes, an hour, 2, like trying to negotiate cash. Here's another card. Let's swap these out. How about this deal? That kind of thing. As opposed to somebody that comes to me with a card that says, well, this is the eBay comp, take it or leave it. I'm like, well, it's not a PC piece, leave it.
Do you think it's almost like it kind of plays into the whole mentality or the notion of, well, they're just wrestling fans. What do they know? They're dumb people.
Could be. But
do you think wrestling card collectors get the same stigma as being wrestling fans? I do. I absolutely
a little bit, think that. Yeah.
I think it's part of that stigma of being involved in anything that has to do with wrestling. I think people who see you as someone who collects wrestling cards, maybe you're not as intelligent or as smart as someone who collects basketball cards or football cards. I could see that being a possibility of why people like, oh, well, I mean, whatever the case may be, I think they get talked down upon. I really do. And I don't care. I don't care if people want to look at me as being that. Like, thank God I have a wife that kind of looks at me and goes, you are a big nerd, you know that, Tony? And I go, yeah. Come on, man. And I go, whatever. And so she's like, no, you are. I'm just providing content out there. It's like, now you're a nerd with all your little nerd friends. And you guys have your little nerd meetings and your nerd podcasts and talk about and I go, well, fine. But you know what? But I'm having fun.
I'm having more fun than I ever have doing this. Like, again, it goes back to whether I'm putting the cross collection together, getting the all-stars autographs together, buying and selling stuff to do eBay. Like, I'm doing the content. Like, I'm having a blast. And, I will, if somebody wants to call me a nerd because I like this sweaty men in tights on cardboard, I will absolutely own that. And if somebody wants to come out there and say, you're a jerk, thinks that you're something because you're trying to lowball me on my 1990 classic Hulk Hogan that there's 5 million of out there. I'll own that too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's because it's funny, it's someone who's not really involved in the hobby or was a wrestling fan at one time and probably doesn't want to tell you that they were.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I found this box of cards that I had when I was a kid, and I checked eBay, and they're going for this, and so I'm willing to sell them to you for this. Like, well, I'm not in it to buy what they're going for on eBay. I'm in it to buy for so I can sell it for that price on eBay.
Oh, but come on, they were big stars in the 90s.
They're big stars in the 90s.
90s junk wax era. Those are the
Okay, I
cards
got
you got.
I hear you. Which we all kind of know before you get in the beginning of a conversation. You kind of know that's where it's going anyways.
Right, yeah. All right, well, that was quite the different show that we've had than normal, and I think it's a lot of fun. So, Tony,
and again, there's no not throwing there's by no means am I, or I'm pretty sure you two, we're not throwing anybody under the bus.
Not specifically, no.
Yeah, of like, you're a horrible person or this, that, and the other side. It's just our experience that we've seen over, our collecting and selling careers.
And that I know that others have seen too that don't want to put it out and I won't, out anybody, but I'm sure maybe you've had it too where people DM you and be like, hey, I had a bad experience with this guy, or
I have. I've had those. We've all had those.
Yeah.
But I've always been kind of shy at trying to protect a brand like WTC. I'm trying to build a brand, trying to protect it as much as I can. But at the same time, I think you've got to call a spade sometimes, and you got to put things out there. And I know we both get polarizing figures on our podcast and talk to certain people that may raise flags from some people like, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't have that person. It's like, well, you know what? I shouldn't have them just because for you or for the select few that don't, or I shouldn't deal with this person because you've had a bad experience. I'll wait till I've had that bad experience first, and then I'll make my decision if I want to deal with that person anymore. So there's a lot of room in this hobby for a lot of different personalities.
Yep.
And
they're not even personalities we have to agree with. I want to say that too.
100%.
So people can have completely opposite views of me, and I'm okay with that because I like to hear the variety.
I learned from that. So, I just, it's almost borderline political right now, where we're getting on this, one side or the other, where it's politics kind of mentality thinking almost.
And it all started with Prism.
Well, it hasn't started with Prism, actually. It's been growing since before then. It's just becoming more prevalent now. It's becoming more of a,
probably right.
Of a, I wouldn't say it's not a cool thing, but it's just more of a thing now that can be seen more. It's not like this underbelly anymore. It's now becoming more of a public thing now. And I'm hoping that the negativity of stuff goes away and that we can kind of get back to just understanding that we all collect different ways. Some of us who don't even collect at all, we're just collecting information basically. But just kind of getting to that mentality, pick your lane. You don't have to stay in it, but just, don't tell me how to live my lane.
Right. Yeah. And this, kind of going back to start of this, like we're talking markets, landscape, and mindset. It doesn't have any, like what we're saying today doesn't really have any implication on like how you actually collect, whether you're a set collector, super collector. Again, maybe you're trying to get to put together a set registry with PSA. Like, I don't care. Like, I think all that stuff's fun and awesome, but it's just the understanding of other people, I guess, is kind of what we're getting at here with trying to figure out why people change their minds and understanding different perspectives.
Yeah. So again, we're not trying to single out any set of people at all. It's like that, or any one person. It's just, these are just our experiences and we're sharing them with people. So I'm sure the people who's listening probably have experienced something like this too. So just want to be clear, we're just sharing.
That's why we started the content. Share experiences, information, and anything we can do to help the hobby in any way, even if it's just one person. So Tony, let everybody know where they can find you or anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here.
WrestlingTradingCards.com. Also, which I haven't been talking about a lot lately, and I'm stupid for not doing that, is I'm a promoter now of running a convention. So I run co-promote a show called Top Rope Con. It's Top Rope Wrestling Con in Tampa, Florida on September 17th at the Florida State Fairground Expo Hall. And we've got a good lineup of people, many more names coming out. I appreciate everybody who's shown support, become a sponsor. Check it out at topropecon.com. And you know, if you're in that area, in the Florida area, want to make a trip down to Florida in September, love to see you guys there. There'll be a lot of card presence there for sure.
Not, yeah,
sure.
it's not a spoiler at this point, but for all of you guys listening to this, if you want to do, you know, if you don't want to wait on the national and you don't want to go to Dallas because there's not enough wrestling cards there, go to this convention because the Card Foundation guys will be there. There could be numerous other card dealers. You never know what's going to happen. It could be some surprises, all kinds of stuff, probably not announced yet.
But to be specific, though, my show does take place after the national.
Oh, I thought it was before. Oh, you're right. I forgot the national was in. Well, are you going, by the way?
I am.
For sure. Are you getting 100%. A booth or doing anything specific there? Can't say. All right, moving on.
To be determined.
That is my bad. For some reason, I was thinking the national was earlier in the summer, but
nope. Already got hotel. Later. Already got VIP ticket. Got the whole bit.
All right, Tony. WrestlingTradingCards.com and TopRopeCon.com.
Correct. Yeah. So I probably will make some kind of a post somewhere on the WTC because WTC is a quote unquote sponsor of the show. So
why not? Absolutely. Got to get their trading cards in front of people.
Put it out there. It's like that. But enough about me, man. Where can they find you? Where can't they find you?
Snapchat. I'm not on Snapchat. I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. Man, I sound so old saying that, but it is what it is. Wrestling with Cards on YouTube, where you can sure to find controversial wrestling card videos where you will hate me and tell me you know everything about it. And hey, that's cool. As long as you're watching, sounds good to me. Check me out on social media at Zhan Morning. You can find links to everything Tony's talked about, everything I've talked about in the show notes for our link trees. Everything we're doing is on there. One of the biggest things you can do for this show is hit that subscribe button on whatever popular podcast platform you're listening to this to, and share a friend. I mean, you've got to try to grow the listener base and grow the specific wrestling card hobby, because as we've said a million times before we started doing this, nobody was. So we're just going to keep that, you know, momentum going the best we can. And we need you, the listeners. If you're digging the shows, if you're digging our YouTube videos, whatever it is, just keep supporting, keep telling people about the show and get more people into wrestling cards. But thank you guys for listening. Again, reach out to us on social media if you've got opinions, questions, or hey, if you actually want to sell some stuff at a bulk rate, maybe me or Tony interested. Probably more so me than Tony, but hey, you never know. We'll try to. And you know, another thing too is like sometimes you get people reach out to me and I'm just like, oh yeah, I know a guy who super collects them, and I'm able to like steer them direct. So it's like I'm not always involved in buying, selling, but I'm happy to like help get people cards into their collection. So
if I'm buying anything from me, by the way, if I'm buying anything from me, it'd probably be, I'm not totally in the market for it, but I dabble here and there where I'm trying to gather base sets, just the most base set of any of wrestling card sets. Because as people know, that I'm going to be opening a store here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I like to be well stocked with a lot of different variety of sets that I can start selling to customers and stuff like that, and hope that we can get some new people into the hobby.
Absolutely. And what a great way to do it. You know, just get it to them. It's almost like a little starter kit, and they can enjoy whatever era of whatever organization of that specific set. So if you guys got full sets, reach out to Tony. And again, thanks for listening. Thank you for your continued support. Until next week, we'll see you.